by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
A young boy tonight is in stable condition in hospital after the driver of a government vehicle struck him this morning. Officer in charge of the traffic division, Superintendent Craig Stubbs, says the 10-year-old is a student of the Stephen Dillett Primary School and was crossing near Quacko Street and East Street shortly after 8 this morning when the driver of an AL 300 van struck him.
Stubbs says when the man saw the 10-year-old running across the street, he tried to avoid hitting him. The child suffered injuries to his face and head. Trevor Cartwright, who was on the scene at the time, tells us what he saw.
As I was two shop corners standing up here, one or two of my friends, and we saw when this bus come flying up the road. It's a custom officer bus, and the little boy was crossing the road, and he hit the little boy, and the little boy flying there underneath another car, and another car drove him. The ambulance came a little bit late, and we telling the officers them how far the bus came from, and we took breaks from it with a slide, and they wasn't hearing us. Now, if it had been one of us knocked that little boy down, we'd have been arrested and get charged.
Superintendent Stubbs says traffic police will wait until the young boy becomes more stable to speak about the ordeal, and then will determine if any charges will be brought against that customs officer.
Well, some drastic changes on tap for the public transportation industry.
Today, members of the Public Transportation Association of the Bahamas were outraged over the abrupt announcement made by the Department of Road Traffic to relocate them from in front of the Royal Bank of Canada area in the heart of downtown to the old building of the Bahamas Information Services on East Bay Street.
Yesterday, they hosted a special press conference near the mall at Marathon to discuss their displeasure over the issue. LaDon Davis reports.
Come Monday, hundreds of passengers will be dropped off and picked up here at this bus stop on East Bay Street. It's all a part of the Road Traffic Department's relocation exercise. However, it's a decision that's not sitting well with President Ruben Raming.
It's the 30,000 people that catch our bus every day, which is 90,000 trip movement, which is 32 million trip movements a year, and these same 300 buses that you have a problem with. We move more people in these jitneys than the cruise ship, the planes, the taxis, and the tour drivers combined.
President of the Public Transportation Association of the Bahamas, Ruben Raming, says nearly 2 weeks ago, industry representatives met with executives of the Road Traffic Department and the Ministry of Transport for an annual meeting to discuss issues affecting the industry. But Raming says a relocation that will affect CIS bus routes was never mentioned.
4 bus stops in town, and now we're going to move 2/3 of them to the outskirts, to the edge of town. And this is our concern. Now, mama, the students, the children, the hard workers at the end of the day, the construction workers, now many of them will have to traverse almost a half a mile to the edge of town just to catch a transfer bus, simply because a unilateral decision was made without any knowledge or representation to the industry representatives.
But Raming says this is not the first time a change of this magnitude has affected jitney franchise holders and bus operators.
But if they think they're going to cause us Bahamians to sell out or give up what we own, what we are willing to improve, what we are willing to keep sacred to the Bahamian people, they need to think again. Because some of us Bahamians are saying enough is enough.
Road Traffic Controller Ross Smith, who could not conduct an on-camera interview because of scheduled meetings today, says a relocation was done because his team felt the area was a security hazard and that he didn't consult PTAB officials because he didn't think it was necessary. He says the department will be adding bus stops in the future.
Now, Raming says PTAB members are expected to host a meeting tomorrow night to discuss the next plan of action. LaDon Davis, ZNS Network News.
It's been more than a month since President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, was suspended from her post and, despite being reinstated by the union's appeal committee, still remained locked out of her office. Wilson then had 2 options: wait for the annual general meeting of union members in June to vote on the issue, or take legal action. Wilson chose to take legal action and was successful in her efforts. Carla Palmer tells us more.
Since December 18th, President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, was locked out of her office and prohibited from conducting affairs on behalf of the union. But today, things have changed in her favor.
I've returned to office with immediate effect.
Wilson was successful in attaining a Supreme Court injunction reinstating her after several executive committee members, led by Secretary General John Musgrove, suspended her for reported inappropriate use of union funds without proper authorization.
The injunction restrains the executive committee from interfering with me in the course of my duties, and the court has also given leave for a judicial review in this matter. It is my hope that we can deal with our matters internally and that no further damage will be done to the union's image, and that the executive committee is prepared to work for the betterment of the members and the organization.
Wilson says her immediate focus now is simply getting back to work and conducting the affairs of union members.
As I continue to work for the thousands of members of the BUT, my first priority is to lead the negotiating team to a successful conclusion of a new industrial agreement for 2013-2016, which we would have started some 8 months ago.
As Wilson recommits her efforts to lead the 3,000-member union, BUT's Secretary General John Musgrove says the executive committee has no intention of letting the issue go.
Of course, we as law-abiding persons, we are allowing her to do her duties. We would not be held in contempt of court. However, as we speak, our lawyers are in the courts. They are representing the executives of the Bahamas Union of Teachers in a counter injunction, and hopefully this will all be ironed out very shortly.
Carla Palmer, ZNS Network News.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm C.S. Gatterly. The Bahamas International Securities Exchange is pleased to announce that W Invest Fund Limited SAC Segregated Account A shares have successfully completed the BISX Mutual Fund listing process. As a result, these shares have now been added to the roster of funds listed on the exchange. The W Invest Fund Limited SAC Segregated Account A is an open-ended investment fund of the W Invest Fund Limited. W Invest Fund Limited, SAC Fund, is incorporated as an international business community under the laws of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and was restructured as a segregated accounts company as defined in the Segregated Accounts Companies Act 2004. In other business news, China Harbor Engineering Company, the contractor for the North Abaco Port project, has announced a change in its executive management, set to continue strengthening good business ties in the Bahamas. Jeff Wang, who previously served as manager for the company's Grenada operations, will replace Felix Chang as principal of Czech Bahamas. In this new role, Wang will manage business operations for the construction of the North Abaco port, as well as expand Czech's brand recognition globally as one of the world's leading port developers. And in international news, Greek financial markets were in turmoil on Wednesday after the new anti-bailout government appeared determined to defy the country's international creditors. New Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras said his party could not disappoint the voters who elected them. Greek 5-year bond yields jumped to 13.5%, reflecting fears investors may not get their money back. This has been your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm C.S. Gatterly.
With just a few months left until the start of the Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival, ZNS took to the streets today to get feedback on recent comments made by the Bahamas Christian Council president. He said the event could encourage promiscuity, among other things.
Our intern Ilka Rogers has that story.
President of the Bahamas Christian Council, Reverend Dr. Ranford Patterson, made claims yesterday stating that Junkanoo Carnival will only dismiss the modesty of women and encourage sexual immorality. Here's what several Bahamians said on that matter.
I think it will bring more rape in the country, go-offs, and incest.
It will cause problem with the ladies out on Bay Street. Say ever way it happen, it will cause a problem because they're showing all the body, and men are weak.
I agree 100%. All this raping and killing and murdering going on now, they should not bring it into the Bahamas.
It could end up making men want to do things to women, and then it'll just make things go higher from there. You don't know where it'll end.
Clothing worn at the parade is another area of concern for some Bahamians.
The clothing, I mean, you know, the places in Africa, people don't wear no clothes. So what's the problem? You know, I think that it depends on your maturity level. You know, it depends on what people are looking at. I think that it's a part of, you know, our cultural heritage.
The women dress, to me, the same way they dress for Junkanoo would be the same way they're dressing for Carnival. And if people find the way women dress for Junkanoo acceptable, I don't see what's the problem with the women dressing the same way.
People will put on less clothes or more clothes when they feel like. It doesn't really count how much clothes you have on. Is about what it's been doing to the Bahamas. So I think it's a good thing that it's coming.
Well, I don't think it's degrading women, because when you look at some of the Junkanoo costumes during Boxing Day and New Year's, some of the really uniforms also, they're scantily.
The Christians and those who don't support Carnival don't have to be on Bay Street or wherever the Carnival would be. All right, other countries around the world, all the citizens don't attend Carnival. All right, it's a choice.
While there seems to be mixed views, the government of the Bahamas is moving full steam ahead in making the final preparations for the first ever Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival. This is set to be held in May of this year. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Ilka Rogers.
Well, way to go, Ilka. The Bahamas Humane Society has focused heavily on its campaign to spay and neuter dogs. However, the focus has now turned to cats. Junkanoo Swain tells us about Operation Pot Cat in this next report.
It's all in a bid to keep the cat population down. Officials from the Bahamas Humane Society are kicking off Operation Pot Cat on Thursday, a spin-off from Operation Pot Cake, where they aim to spay and neuter cats. Shelter Manager Inspector Percy Grant said people just need to bring their cats in.
We're starting Operation Pot Cat, and this is supposed to Operation Pot Cake, and that really is because of the stamp outbreak and very limited on dogs, and we right now we're not out of the woods totally yet, and so we decided to do Operation Pot Cat. The aim is to do at least 75 cats a day, and that's going to be starting tomorrow until Tuesday, I think, the 2nd of February. The 2nd of February. And so people can call down and bring their cats down as of tomorrow. We have vets who are going to be doing the spaying of their cats and as well as neutering.
When we visited the Humane Society on Wednesday afternoon, preparations for the intake and registration of cats were already underway. Grant said there are about 250 cats at the Humane Society, and for those of you who may have a difficulty capturing a cat, he said a team is available to assist in that vein.
If you need help, we do have girls who we do have a group, a team, I should say, a trapping team, who will come out and set the traps, and they will catch the cats up and bring them in, and some of the cats, of course, will be returned. If not, they'll be adopted. But a lot of times, people, just want cats around, but they, they can't touch them, or because they're breeding, out of control breeding, and trying to keep the population of cats down.
Now, even as this cool weather makes its way out of the area, Grant says there is a shortage of blankets and other items needed for the animals' care.
We are always welcoming old towels and sheets, and especially in this time with the weather going down, we do need this type of stuff always. So if people have old towels at home they're not using, they have old sheets or quilts, blankets, we can use them at this time.
The operation is expected to last for the next 5 days, and Grant says they will begin receiving cats from 8 Thursday morning. He's encouraging as many persons to take advantage of the free cat fix while it lasts. Junkanoo Swain, ZNS Network News.
Work had already begun for a marina on Crooked Island, but it was halted last year. Cleopatra Murphy has the details on that and why some residents are hopeful it will resume.
A dispute over property boundaries has brought dredging to a screeching halt at the nearly $2 million marina in Landrail Point, Crooked Island. Officials hope to bring economic prosperity to the island with the addition of the marina, but with the project stalled, that prosperity may have to wait. Work on the marina began a little over a year ago, and former island administrator Samuel Miller says the stalled marina is expected to have a significant impact on the local economy.
It means that there'll be more persons employed, there'll be more boats coming in. I think they also promised that the government can probably put their mailboat in there whenever the mailboat comes in as well. Because we have a lot of voters who pass by, who need fuel, who needs other supplies, food supplies and whatever, ice and whatever. And once this gets started, it will mean quite a bit for the residents here. More persons would eventually be employed.
Resident Eliezer Scavella says many young people leave the island because they cannot find employment, and he says the Marina would allow some of them to remain at home.
I think it'll benefit everyone, you know, who live on the island and others who come here too. Yeah. You'll able to have yacht boats coming, you know, and some of the younger fellas will be able to get a job.
Local Government Council member for Landriel Point, Andrew Gibson, says he hopes to see the dispute settled soon so dredging and other work can resume. He says the marina can be used as an alternate site for the current dock that was damaged by a hurricane a few years back.
Quite a few years now, the docking facility has been very poor because the mailboat that comes in here, we live right on the west shore, very near to the ocean, and when it gets really rough, the mailboat cannot come in and land. Sometimes have to go straight to Auckland, and we'll have to wait till the weather comes down.
Miller says the property dispute is presently before the Supreme Court, and a ruling is expected early this year. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.